As you read through the book of Philippians, you cannot help but feel the joyful mood of the letter and the writer of the letter, the Apostle Paul. The book of Philippians has a major theme running throughout, one of joy and rejoicing. Each chapter mentions these themes at least once and 12 times throughout this letter to the community in Philippi. We understand from the timeline of Paul's life and ministry that in fact this letter to the Philippians was written from prison. Paul is experiencing what most of us would describe as awful circumstances, and this was the latter end of the worst times for Paul. In his letter, Paul says that the things which happened to me have actually turned out for the furtherance of the gospel. From the account in the book of Acts, the things to which Paul is referring were not easy. He had to endure an illegal arrest in Jerusalem, being imprisoned in Caesarea for 2 years, appealing to be sent away to Rome to appear before the imperial court of Caesar, and then being shipwrecked on the way and being stuck on a remote island for months. Surely while writing this letter, Paul should very well be fed up with life. But yet this is not evident at all in the mood and tone of his letter. In fact, it is the exact opposite: joy and rejoicing. How fascinating that Paul, despite his own personal unpleasant circumstances, would strongly urge that the saints rejoice, while he himself never complained about his challenging conditions. Paul's message to the believers in Philippi continues, uplifting instructions which continue to be a blessing to those who meditate upon them. Paul answers the question of what mental outlook believers should have. Should we be happy or sad, pessimistic or optimistic? There are some key points to good mental health and positive outlook in the 4th chapter of Philippians. First, Paul says to us, do not be anxious. Next, turn things to the Lord in prayer. Let God's peace dwell in your heart. Think on good things, imitate the good things, things which are true, noble, just, pure, lovely, and of good report. Be content despite your circumstances. Remember the source of your power, which enables you to do all things. Paul had plenty of reasons for becoming discouraged. He faced imprisonment, bitter rivalries, and personal setbacks. Yet Paul discovered a way to have joy even in the worst of times. Paul had joy because he loved others. He prayed for others, encouraged others, and sought to bring joy to others. Just as we witness in this book to the Philippians, instead of trying to feel good and be successful, Paul lived to serve the Lord and to help others. Because Paul's life centered around his walk with the Lord, circumstances became irrelevant. Others' motives and actions couldn't discourage him, and personal uncertainty could not render him powerless. These are trying times in which we are living. Many of us feel the pressures, whether financial, spiritual, or social. There seems to be a pressing which is taking place across the world. We can take courage, joy, and hope from the example of Paul. We can have the same peace and confidence that Paul had even in dire, hopeless circumstances by putting our hope in the Lord and putting Him at the center of all that we do. The Lord will lift us above our circumstances and enable us to face our challenges, knowing that everything is in His hands. We need to face these uncertain times with single-mindedness that, Lord, whatever may come, whatever I may have to face, I want You to be glorified. This is the secret to joy.